hand it off to Jody for me.
Yeah, it's being done right now.
And here he is.
That great introduction, and to Mike Tripp as well, and Joe Salemi. So thank you all for sponsoring and partnering with me on this presentation. I'm very excited to be here in front of all of you. I have a great hour of information that is really going to help you figure out how to dramatically improve your sales, how to work one-on-one with clients as opposed to bidding on drawings where you're working or competing against 3 or 4 other contractors. And this is a process that I've developed over the past 35 years, and it took me a long time to figure this out. But there are a lot of things that you can do that are really going to help you with your presentations. The great thing is that so much of it is very similar to what you're currently doing, but there are just a lot of tweaks and some nuances to this process that make it very linear. It's going to fix some of the things that might be broken in your system right now. It's going to give you the confidence to talk to customers about charging design fees, and I'm going to show you exactly how to set that up, because there is a very specific process. There's a way about going about this where you can get paid for your design work, and as we all know, that's something that we want, but sometimes we actually don't ask for the payment or a deposit towards a design fee. I have a sample contract that I use that you're able to download. If you haven't, I'll give you the opportunity during the presentation to download the document. You can feel free to use it however you'd like. You can copy it as long as you put your name, your company name on it as well. But everything that we're going to talk about today is hands-on, based on experiences, both good and bad. And not everything came easy. A lot of these things actually were due to the fact that I failed at different ways of approaching clients, and now I've been able to take this information, put it together, so that this year, 2014, all of you can really learn how to dramatically improve your sales. So the name of the overall presentation is the 5 Ds to Successful Design Build Sales. And today we're going to talk about part 1, which is selling landscape design services. As many of you know, I am from New Jersey.
Jody, sorry to interrupt. Can you? I'm not sure if you're showing your screen or not. You may want to just click on that.
Okay. Let me go back and find the screen share. I apologize.
Perfect. You're back up. Thanks.
Oh, I'm back on now? Okay. All right. Okay. As many of you know, I'm from New Jersey, and I just happened to find this picture on the website. I thought it was just such a really cool idea, just to kind of warm things up a little bit. It's something we all do out of hardscape materials, but this is a great shot of the Jersey Shore. And just to remind everybody, I do live very close to the Real Housewives of New Jersey. If you see my other presentations, the housewives have changed. Actually, a lot of them got a lot of plastic surgery from several years ago, but I live about 10 minutes away from them. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. What I want all of you to do is to stop doing estimates and start selling installations. For some reason, our industry and contractors wear it as a badge of honor how many estimates that they have. I have 8 estimates to do. I have 10 estimates to do. The estimates don't matter. It's the work that you sell that does matter. And when I hear somebody talk about they have so many estimates to do, it's probably because they haven't successfully screened their clients and limited the amount of calls that they're going on, because that's really what you need to do, and that's what we're going to talk about as part of this the process of design fees, and you can use designs to help you screen clients. So instead of wasting time with every single lead, we're going to look how step by step, and this is not generic sales, this is specific to landscape designers and design build contractors, how you can sell work faster, have a very tight sales cycle, which I'll talk to you about. I keep my meetings very tight, I keep the information very tight, and so that you could have a quick turnaround from your design and proposal, because as a lot of you know, that the quicker you can get back to a customer when they're excited, when they want to get going, the better it is for you. If you're pushing them out a month or 2 months, they lose a lot of interest. So I'm going to show you how to still design things properly, but tighten up your sales cycle. Also, I want to make sure that everybody understands that doing free design work is really one of the ways that we drain so much time out of our process, and it adds unbelievable stress to designers, design salespeople, and what it does is it takes time away from the other type of work that you need to do. So in reality, paying for a plan, if a client pays for a plan, you have a much better chance of getting the work, and actually close to 90–95% of getting the installation work, as opposed to doing a free plan because everybody else is doing a free plan, and I'll discuss how to get out of that process as well. But the point is that if somebody pays for a plan, they understand the value of it, and we're going to talk about how to develop that relationship so that they're not contacting anybody else. They're just working with you. They're not calling 3 or 4 contractors. And if they do and want to shop your plan, my next webinar is going to talk to you, show you how to make it even harder for competitors to bid against you. But for right now, we're going to talk about the goal, which is to sell design fees.
Hi, Jody. Sorry to interrupt again. I believe people are still showing your 5Ds introductory slide, the one with your picture on it.
All right. Let me go back then. I apologize. I'm trying to figure out which button that is. Mike, are we still seeing
Back to the white intro page. If you click on the play button up at the top of your the right-hand bar there.
The play button at the top of the right-hand bar. Okay, here we go. Do you see the Real Housewives of New Jersey now?
Yeah, that one's on there now.
Okay. All right, now it probably makes a lot more sense now that you can see them. We just go back to, this is what I was showing before, just a really neat idea, a neat concept of a real fire pit cut into the sand. The Real Housewives in Plastic Surgery. And what I was just discussing before about doing estimates and start selling. All right, the 5 Ds to successful design build sales are develop the program, determine the priority, discuss the budget, design the dream, and do the deal. And a lot of you that are members of the website have heard these things discussed before, and we're going to really drill down into the specifics and specifically into how to obtain a signed contract for the design and the design fee, which is something that I haven't really discussed all that much, or just glossed over just due to time constraints and other presentations. All right, so these are the 5 Ds. In this webinar, we're going to cover develop the program, determine the priority, and discuss the budget. Design the dream will be on next week's, and then do the deal will be on the following. All right, so develop the program, determine the priority, and discuss the budget. All right, webinar number 1, selling landscape design services. Next week, creating an unbiddable plan and proposal, and then preparing for the perfect presentation. So all of these webinars are designed to flow one right after the other so that you will have all of the steps that you need and all the ideas that you need to go from the initial phone call to a sale of an installation and even upselling potentials. Okay, so again, believe it or not, doing free design work decreases your chances of getting work because you're doing so much free design work. You're running around so much, putting drawings together, doing plans that really are not your best work because you're designing for free, so you don't know if you get the work. And I was just out in Ohio with Sense, and I asked everybody how many people admit that they do free design work. Of course, nobody raised their hand except for me because I used to do free design work, and I know everybody does a little bit here and there, but you can't. It's detrimental to your process. It's detrimental to your profit. It's detrimental to your entire business model. So you need to charge for your designs. If somebody doesn't want to pay it, that's fine. You're not going to get every single one of them, but the ones that you do get are going to be much better clients. You're going to sell much more work, and I'm going to show you in the design process next week how to get them excited so much that the budget that they initially told you that they had, they're going to double it, triple it while you're still working there. But before we get into that, we just need to look at some of the basics, some of the background work, because selling is not, it's not when you're sitting at the table with the contract, with the drawing, waiting for them to sign the contract and give you a deposit. Selling is everything that you do along the way, all these little steps, all these phone calls, all the information that we're going to talk about. That's all part of the sales process. It's not the actual signing of the contract and getting the deposit. That's just another step in the process. So what I have laid out is when you go through everything and you're finally at the table to sell, there's no surprises. Clients are comfortable with you, they like the design, they're happy with it, they know how much it's going to cost, and they just need to sign a check. So there's no guessing, there's no looking, wondering how much everything costs, because they already know, and they know that it's within the budget that they want to spend. Okay, the second webinar will be, there's almost nothing more frustrating than, as we all know, having a competitor install your work, whether you did the plan for free or whether you got paid for it. We all want to design things so that we can build them, because that's where the real joy is. And we'll talk about how to create an unbiddable master plan and proposal. Even the proposal is something I recently added that is going to make your proposal writing much faster. We're going to talk about proposal templates and how to keep the information very light on your plan as well as your proposal, and even discuss how to make a very comfortable presentation just by the way your drawing is structured and your proposal is structured. And then webinar number 3 will be the culmination of 1 and 2, where you are just sitting down, you're presenting your drawing, you're not nervous, it's going to be presented in a very logical manner. We'll talk about how to present a drawing, how to present the process or the proposal, and we'll learn some simple techniques along with some do's and don'ts. So some mistakes that you could make, even going through everything, doing it perfectly, there's still an opportunity to blow it on your sales meeting. So we'll talk about some of those things. And most of them are little, and they may seem silly, but I've lost a lot of work by doing a lot of silly things, and I don't want you to do that. All right, one of the basic tenets of my process is that you can't say we don't get the type of leads that other companies get. You do. You get very good leads, you get very bad leads. Other companies, larger companies, smaller companies than you, it's the same thing. They get very good leads and they get very bad leads. The companies that know how to determine which are the good leads versus which are the bad leads earlier in the process have a much better chance of selling the work. So if you're chasing every single phone call that comes in, even if, as far as I know, the economy is doing a lot better. I know around here, people have had a great year last year. And I know when I was up in Canada, things are improving up there as well. So you do get the leads. You just need to know how to work with clients so that if they're a good customer, you know how to determine that and work with them. And if they're less than desirable, you know how to quickly eliminate them so that you're not wasting time or taking time meeting with them, going through the entire process only to find out that they weren't serious about the work or they don't have the money to do the work. And we're going to do an actual a hands-on example of that. So if you have a pen and paper, we're going to walk you through that. Okay, so we're going to talk about selling landscape design services. Here's a sample drawing. You have to do everything in color. Okay, if you don't color render your drawings, you are doing yourself a tremendous disservice. If you look at this plan, it's very appealing. It's very easy to understand where the house is, where the lawn is, where the plants are. You may not know what the plants are, and that's actually okay, where the swimming pool is, patio, etc. But if you're only showing a black and white drawing, it's very difficult for customers to get excited about that because most people aren't that visual. Most people do not understand landscape. They understand housing construction much more than they understand the type of work that we do. So the more things that we can do to make it easier for them, the better off we are and they are. And color is one of those things that is a must. Even if you have no rendering skills, if you're doing it by hand, if you're doing it with a computer design software, they have rendering packages. So whatever you need to do, crayons, a pen and a piece of paper. I want to do a little exercise just to help you understand why doing free plans is bad for business, it's bad for you. And I think that I've done this experiment before, and it really drives the message home. So we want to look at why you can't do it, and then we're going to look at exactly how to do it. All right, so we're going to play how much time am I wasting doing free design work. So what I want to do, and I want all of you to do, is let's list the steps of the process, okay, of the design process. Customer calls the office and says they want some landscaping done. All right, the first thing I want to point out is what does landscaping mean? You know, so many of us are so excited that we got a phone call and that a customer wants landscaping done that we just run right out there without asking them, what does landscaping mean to you? It could mean that they have grubs in their lawn. It could mean that they need some pruning. It could mean that they need a few plants replaced. It could also mean that they want to do an entire renovation of their property, including outdoor kitchen, swimming pool, patios, new plantings, privacy plantings, ponds. So you really need to know, is this a $500 project or a $500,000 project when the customer calls in? So when somebody just calls and says, we need some landscaping done, you need to ask some questions, and we'll talk about that. So now let's assume this is a design build customer. Right, the first thing that we need to do is have an initial meeting with them. They've told us on the phone, they've told us some of the things that they want to do, so we need to meet with them. The next step is that we need to perform a site analysis. Let's take the design fees and all of that out of the equation. We're just going to look at the very raw steps. So you have an initial meeting, and then you have to do a site analysis at the property in order for you to do a design. And what we're going to do, and I want you to write these things down, is we're going to put some time or some hours to each one of these steps and see how quickly this adds up. After the site analysis, go back to the office, and you're going to work on the design. You're going to put a plan together for the client. Okay, and there's going to be time associated with that as well. After the design, we need to put together an estimate for the work. Hopefully you have budget numbers from them. Most of us don't. Most of us are afraid to push the clients too hard on that. But I'll give you some solutions as well on how to always get a budget from a client, because it's paramount to being successful in design build sales. You can't walk away without knowing how much your clients want to spend. Okay, so the fourth step is the estimate. Now that we have all of that together, it's time for another meeting. Go back out to the house for most of us, or to our client's house. Some of you may have facilities or design centers where you have the client come there, but there's less people that have that level of sophistication. Typically, we go out and meet at the client's house. And personally, I've worked for companies where we would bring the clients into our facility, and I'm much more comfortable meeting at their house. That will be dependent on you, but I always enjoyed that. All right, so we have the next meeting, the second meeting. So what happens at that meeting? You talk about the design, you discuss it, you review the proposal with them, talk about all your ideas, how much everything's going to cost. For a lot of you, you're thinking and hoping that this is going to be your sales meeting, that you're going to close the deal, although I hate that term, but that you're going to get a deposit from the client, that they're going to be happy with everything, or maybe a few minimal amount of changes or revisions, but chances are that's not going to be the case. So you go through the meeting, they discuss changes, they discuss what they'd like to do differently. Maybe they've already met with 2 or 3 other contractors, and they're taking some of those ideas and applying it to your design. And if you've been doing this long enough, you typically know when somebody is doing that, because they're discussing things that's typically above their knowledge level. When they're talking square footages and throwing some paper names out and things like that, chances are they're giving you ideas that other contractors gave you. So after that meeting, you're not going to make that sale, because now you have to go back and revise the plan. You have to revise the design to what their ideas were at that meeting. You may agree with them, you may not agree with them, but now you have to go back to the drawing board or back to your laptop or desktop and revise the design. When you revise the design, naturally you have to revise the proposal. Maybe it was more than they wanted to spend. Maybe they wanted to change materials from what you initially wanted them to use. Maybe you need to bring the budget down, so you need to change some of the sizes or types of plants that you proposed in your design. Maybe you need to redesign the whole project because they just weren't happy with your solution. So these are things that, as we'll see and as you already know, take a significant amount of time to do. So after you revise the design, revise the proposal, now you're back for your sales meeting, or hopefully will be your sales meeting. This is now your third meeting with that client. And this meeting is to review the changes in the design, review the changes in the proposal, answer any questions that they may have about pricing or how your payment process works, what type of deposit that you get. So they're going to have a fair amount of questions for you at this point. You're hoping, again, that this is the sales meeting where you're going to get the money and you're going to be able to sell the job and get a deposit. All right? But maybe not. Maybe they say yes, maybe they say no, and then maybe they say maybe so. Actually rhymes, yes, no, maybe so. Okay, so if we look at this, and on the next few slides, we're going to start putting some times or some hours to all of this. And you'll see this is a fair amount of time invested in this that you're still waiting. You're still not sure if you're getting the job, if you're not getting the job, or if they're going to just string you along because they have other contractors they're meeting with, or because they don't have the money, or whatever reasons clients or homeowners have, that they're not ready or willing to make a decision. This is a lot of work to do to not know if you're working together. One other thing I'd like to point out with this, and why another reason why the free design process is horrible is because there is a point, and let's say you've gone through all these steps, you're at the sales meeting, and the client hits you with the question, you know what, I love this. You know what, Jody, we really like you. We've heard a lot of great things about you. We love your ideas. The proposal, it's right there. You're right in the ballpark. It's everything that we wanted. What we'd like to do is just sit with the plan and the proposal over the weekend and then get back to you on Monday. We're 99% sure that we're going to go with you, but we really want to look at the plan, and my wife and I just want to sit with it a little bit and look at these things in our backyard. All right, so at that point, if you're doing a free design, you have only two options. You could say to them, sure, no problem, hang on, giving them the plan, giving them the proposal, basically giving them all of your hard work in hopes that they don't take advantage of you. And I don't know anybody who hasn't had a bad experience where the customers did that, took the plans, took the proposal, maybe they did the work themselves, maybe their nephew just graduated from college, or maybe they just gave it to another contractor and used you for your design skills. Right? But you have to make a decision. Yes, do you give them the plan and hope that they don't, I'm using the term take advantage, we all know what the other word is. So, or the other choice is you could say no. And what if they were really willing to go with you and they were excited and they were being truthful that they just needed the plan to digest everything? By saying no, you're telling them you don't trust them. Okay, that's not good. If you have to say to them, you know what, once you give me a deposit, then I can give you the plan and the proposal. You're basically telling somebody, I don't trust you whatsoever, I've been taken advantage of before. Either way, it's a very high-risk problem that there's a good chance that you're going to do the wrong thing as opposed to the right thing. All right, so let's now that we have this list, I want all of you, let's start putting some times at this plan study, or free plan study. Let's assume that it's about a half-acre site, nothing too big, okay? And let's also assume that the customer is about 15 minutes away from your office or where you work. So you're going to have travel time, 15 minutes each way, right? Because it's not Star Trek. We can't just energize and appear at these places. There is travel time, so you really have to consider that when you're looking at how much time a design takes. So what I want all of you to do is put a number for the initial meeting, how long it typically takes with traveling. I'm going to do this for every one of these, and then I want to see how close you are to how close I am. And it's, again, it's, we're not looking at specifics on this, but we'll see that we'll all be in a similar ballpark with it. All right, so the initial meeting, I have 1.5 hours. I tend to talk a lot or listen a lot, so half hours driving back and forth, and about an hour meeting with the client. I think that's pretty much standard, and I hope that all of you have something close to that. All right, after the initial meeting, we need to perform a site analysis, evaluate the property, look at the slope, maybe shoot some grades, take tons of photos with our smartphones, and start locating some of the existing conditions that may not be on their property survey. And where I work, and where a lot of you work, I'm sure, homeowners do have property surveys, and you really need to work with them. You can't spend time measuring up a house in the property, especially if you're doing something beyond a foundation planting. All right, so we're assuming that you have a survey from the client. Otherwise, the site analysis number jumps up significantly while being less and less accurate. All right, so our half-acre property, did the site analysis, figured the sun angles, where the water's going to drain, took some photos, located some existing trees, about an hour. And so next up, we have the design. And I have an hour for the site analysis, because typically I do that right after my initial meeting. Actually, mine are about a half hour because I'm already there, but if you go back and forth, You have to assume a half hour for driving back and forth and then a half hour for your site analysis. The design phase. Again, a rough number, 3.5 hours to put a plan together for a half-acre property. And this is assuming all the bells and whistles, not just a planting plan, but hardscape, maybe an outdoor kitchen layout, possibly a swimming pool, definitely plantings, new walkway, maybe driveway layouts. And quite honestly, 3.5 hours is being pretty conservative. We all know that that number could grow significantly. Next, we have the estimate. And again, being very conservative on that as well, because estimates can take even more time than the designs actually do. So, but I'm going to go easy on the numbers right now. But 2.5 hours for for a hardscape and a planting project. So now you have everything that you need. The contract or proposals all printed up. Now you have a meeting with the client. This meeting is longer. You still have the half-hour driving back and forth. But now you're presenting ideas. Now they have a lot of questions for you. Now there's a lot of back and forth. You're taking a lot of notes. So these meetings typically run more than an hour and up to an hour and a half. Again, if you have it an hour and a half, that's fine. We'll just look at the overall totals. But these meetings are typically longer. You're going to walk outside to show them exactly where the walkway is, where the plantings are, because it's difficult for them to understand the scale. And of course, you want to be accommodative because you want the work. Okay, after that meeting, changes are going to have to be made. A couple hours to revise the design. Okay, if you're doing it by hand, it's going to take longer. If you're doing it with a software program, you're going to be able to do it a lot faster. But let's assume a couple hours for the revisions that there might be some significant changes. The proposal, we have to revise that as well. Another hour. Okay, and hopefully you're getting numbers similar to this. Unfortunately, I can't see anybody out there, but you can let me know later on what numbers you came up with. You have everything done. Now you're at your third meeting for your sales meeting, half-hour trip. Usually, for me, it goes back down to about an hour for that meeting because we reviewed most things. We're really looking at the changes in some of the numbers. All right, so there's there's less time typically that's required. I don't have to go outside with them anymore. This is your business meeting. All right, so you've invested all this time so far, and now you're waiting for thumbs up, thumbs down, or they're going to ask you to come back another time, or they'll say things like, we'll let you know. And all that takes is a minute for them to do that. All it does is take a customer 1 minute to say, you know what, thanks for going with somebody else. Okay, now if you add up all this time, and you could add up yours at home or at your office, I have 15 hours and a minute that was invested in this particular project that wound up not going anywhere. Now, let's imagine now that you have, you did 3 or 4 free designs. Okay, so now you have 15 hours that you invested in this one, 15 hours in another, 15 hours in another, and let's say your closing rate or your sales is 1 out of 4. All right, so 1 out of 4 of these free plans that you invested 15 hours now becomes 60 hours and I guess 4 minutes to make one sale. That's a week and a half, or in the busy season, a week. Right? That's a lot of time. So we tend to forget about the ones that we invest all this time in that just walk away from us and never become a project or go into the never-ending pending file. All right, so hopefully you got something around there. I've seen it as high as 21, 22 hours, maybe down as low as 10 or 12 hours, which is somebody's not being truthful there. But 15 to 20 or so hours is pretty reasonable for the amount of time that you need to spend on something like this. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is move on to the next thing, which is the design proposal that you were able to download. If you don't have it, just click on, there's a link that was sent to you on the last email, and you should be able to download it because I just want to review it. It's a great document. I use it very successfully, and I just want to make sure that as we go through it that everybody understands what's on there and why. And I highly recommend that you do use it if you're a design-build contractor and you like everything else in the process and the system, because it really works well. If you're an independent designer, it works fantastically as well, because it allows you to have your contractors get the design deposit as opposed to going out and meeting with all of their customers. And that's actually the reason why I developed it. Besides everything else, I still do a lot of design work and project management. So all the contractors that I work with have this document, and they need to sell the design fee and get a deposit before I'll meet with them. All right, so if you haven't downloaded it, you could get it another time, but otherwise we're going to walk through it. This I put up there again, just break up the presentation slightly, is everything that I talk about and do is logical. I love this. I saw this on it was in a parking lot. Nothing makes more sense. If this machine malfunctions, please use another machine. It's logical, as opposed to coming up with any other ideas. Right? Everything that I do is logical. Everything has a process. So we're going to look at the process of the design fee. I couldn't fit everything on one page, so I have the top half on one and the bottom half on another. Okay, the design proposal. And this, if you use this form, you can have it printed on duplicate or triplicate paper. You can handwrite and fill it in. You could also type everything up and fill it in, because it's a Word document, and you can have this all prepared with all the information prior to even meeting the client. And that includes knowing exactly how much the design fee is for this. All right, so let's take a look at this. So we have the client's information, name, address, phone number, and email, and then your company name, and proposes the following work. This is where a lot of us get hurt on the design portion of it. Actually, there's a lot of different phases we get hurt. So the landscape design, my package, and I want to use the word package because that's what it is. It includes certain things and doesn't include other things. There's no gray area. It includes an initial consultation, either meeting with the client or the contractor or both to discuss the scope of work. Right? A site analysis, to note, photograph, and analyze existing site conditions. Base map prep. That's essentially taking their property survey and going to Staples and blowing it up from 30 scale or 40 scale to 10 scale, and then taking that and drafting it or bringing it into your software package. And again, I have the property survey as required. You need to have that. If they tell you we don't know where it is, we can't find it, explain to them that it's with their mortgage papers, and lo and behold, they will find it for you. Don't let them get out of not giving it to you. If you're in an area where the land is vast, I'm not sure what the solution is for that, but here we're quarter acre, half acre, up to an acre property, and everybody has a property survey. I also include create landscape design and draw the plan. Some of this is, I didn't need to write it in there, but it kind of fills the sheet up. And there's a value in that as well. I didn't need to write scale up property survey. I didn't want to write go to Staples and for $3 take their property survey and make it bigger. All right, so a lot of this is presentation. Presentation drawing. I'm going to color render the plan for the presentation. If I'm working with a homeowner, I do the presentation. If I'm working for a contractor, this is where the relationship stops. I give them the plan and they present it to the clients. Because I also offer another service, which is selling. If I'm selling the project, which is doing a presentation, then I have a commission schedule. Let's assume right now it's just straight design fees. What's great about this is the design fees are based on the size of the property alone. And what I realized over time, and those of you that have more experience, the bigger the sheet, the longer the design takes you, whether there's some complexity to it, a swimming pool versus not a swimming pool. A lot of drawings they all have hardscape, they have lawn areas, they have plantings. there's not a lot of, the biggest thing that takes a lot of time is the bigger the plan, the bigger the drawing, the bigger the property, the longer that it takes. So 0 to quarter acre is one price, and I didn't write the numbers in because, I'm from New Jersey and we're always accused of racketeering. So I didn't put it in there. And besides, you need to know what your own pricing structure is. So 0 to quarter acre is one price, quarter to half another price, and obviously these prices go up. Half to 3/4, 3/4 to an acre, and then after that I just made kind of what they do with the taxi cabs. Every quarter acre after that is X amount of dollars. But again, most of our projects don't. Properties are not larger than an acre. All right, so it allows you to give a flat fee, and also clients like that. There are some areas where I am that you could have a 1 acre property in a town that the income in the area is a lot less than another town where it's significantly higher, and people don't like to feel like they're getting taken advantage of. We look at the rest of it. I added some disclaimers, or I actually added some clauses. Sometimes I have to travel beyond 15 minutes. Once it starts getting up there, I need to cover my travel time, and I think you should as well. If you're driving an hour to meet a client, that has to be in there to work on the design. The one-time material charge and setup fee, I actually deleted that, so this is a little bit older. And then corner lots. They're harder to do because of the setbacks, so I add a little bit more for a corner lot. Payment schedule, 50% deposit, 50 due upon completion. Okay, very simple, very straightforward. I take credit cards on my iPhone. They can give me a check right there, but money has to change hands. There are no checks in the mail. We're here to do business. And again, if the contractor is doing it, the contractor is the one that got the deposit. Now, if you look at the general notes and conditions, this again is where we run into trouble on the design side of things, and actually not just on the design, all of that carries through to the installation. I lay out exactly what is included and exactly what is not included. Okay, revisions are extra. If it's a little revision, actually, I'm a nice person, and I'll give them, some small revisions. If it's a large revision, they need to pay for it because revisions are ill-defined. It could be a complete redo of the property and your design. It could be rounding the corners on your patio. It could be changing a few plants. A lot of times the revision could just be done on the contract, or is what I like to do. I like to revise with marker paint out on the property. That's my favorite way to do revisions. Okay, but I do not include irrigation. I do not include lighting, spot elevations, topography. I know the topography because I have a laser and I shoot all my grades. Not everywhere, not like a surveyor would, but I know if I need 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, and how high a wall is going to be. But I'm not putting that detailed information on the drawing. It's just implied. Same thing, no construction details. And some people agree with this and some people don't, and that's all right. This is a nice, as you'll see the drawings that we're going to look at, I want to present a very nice colorful graphic with a layout, graphic design, laid out what the client wants, not bogging them down with a lot of details, but just selling them or presenting a great concept that they're going to want to buy and that they're going to invest money in. All right, so all of these things are in here so that we don't run into trouble later on. Design fees based on the actual property. People try to say, well, half of this is woods and the rest is, an area that's going to be designed. Chances are you're going to design the whole thing, especially if you do master plans, which is what I recommend. And then we look at the what I include: 3 copies of the plan and 1 is color. They don't get 4, they don't get 5, they don't get 1. Anything else is at the normal hourly rate. Again, you need to decide on what yours is. Now, here's a great website. It's called Zillow.com. I know it's here in the States. I believe there's something similar when I was in Vancouver that some of the contractors out there said was similar. But this website, you type in the address, it tells you all the stats about the property. So I can, the customer calls me up, tells me where they live, I could tell them, I'll know exactly what size their property is, and I could give them a quote over the phone if that's what I wanted to do. But typically I don't like to do that unless I want to scare them off. Here's the kind of information that you'll get on Zillow once you punch an address in. If you look about 3/4 of the way down the page, where you'll see bedrooms 5, bathrooms 4.5, lot size 0.86 acres. So that goes into my 3/4 to 1 acre category. All right, I'm still trying to figure out how the house was sold in '97, but it was built in 2000. I'm sure there was, actually I have no idea. I have no idea why that is, but all I care about is the lot size. All right, and that's all you need to fill in the blanks of the design proposal. The reason we want to do designs is because if you just show a customer proposal, this is what they see. They don't know the vernacular. They don't really understand the information that's on there. They see something like this. They know the words that they know, and that's about it. They'll pick up some keywords, but the rest of it is really gibberish. Give them something like this. It's much more relatable. It's much easier to understand. It's much easier to follow. It's much more exciting. So when you're thinking about designs and why you need to charge for designs is so you can put a beautiful plan together like this because you want to sell the job. If you're running around just doing estimates and proposals, then you're not going to get the clients excited. You're not going to get them involved or interested in doing the work. Okay, so it's clear which you would choose. All right, now the process that we go through. All right, like I said, everything starts at the initial phone call. And I'll tell you right now, I'm looking at the time, and I'm going to run probably a couple of minutes over. I apologize if you have to run somewhere, but I don't want to rush through this as well. The initial phone call is where everything begins. Or you need to have a lead sheet. You can't just have a notebook piece of paper or scraps of paper. You need to have a form or, again, something on your computer that is designed to accurately take this information. Okay, you need to get the basic info. And I know this sounds silly, but you need to get the client's name and ask them how they spell everything. All right, my name is Jody. I get Jody, Jodi, Jodie, and my last name is Shilan. I can't tell you how many different ways that's spelled. Nobody likes to have their name spelled wrong. So when you first take the call, make sure you get the correct spelling. Is it a street or a road that they live on? In some towns, those could be 15, 20 minutes away. If they're on, Hemlock Street versus Hemlock Lane, they could be very far apart. So make sure you get that. As I said before, landscape could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So you want to ask open questions. So if somebody says to you when they call, we'd like to have some landscaping done, don't just run right out there. Okay, you need to ask them, oh, that's great. You always want to be positive. That's great. What type of landscaping are you looking for? Don't ask them if they want a patio. Don't ask them if they want a new walkway, new driveway, a swimming pool. Of course they do. Who doesn't? It doesn't mean they could afford it, and it doesn't mean that's why they called you. So can you tell me a little bit about the project? You may find out that it's maintenance and that this goes to the maintenance person if you have a maintenance department and construction. You just saved yourself, an hour and a half of running out there realizing that you're the wrong person. All right, so you don't have to get invasive or, really get into their privacy. Just have them talk to you a little bit. They're going to want to. All right, so ask open-ended questions and then write down the words that they use. It's very important as well. Don't write similar words. Write down the exact words that they use. If they say formal, write formal. Don't write classic, okay? Because people like to hear the words that they use because it makes them feel like you understand them, even if you don't at that particular moment. And then I just have let them talk, not too long because it gets busy in the spring, but just enough to get an understanding of what type of client or what type of project it is. Then I have follow, don't lead. Let them give you the information. Don't offer up things like, do you want to redo the entire backyard or do you want seat walls? Let them tell you what they want. If they could do anything, what would it be? This is where you want your clients to dream. So now you're at that first meeting and you want them to dream the dream. And most clients do automatically. Once you start walking around the property, they're telling you all these ideas that they want. And you want to encourage that. You want them to get excited because later on when you do the plan, you're going to incorporate all these things. Ask questions, okay? Ask a lot of questions. And I have actively listen. Actively listen means as you're asking questions, you're listening for their answers. You're not thinking about what you're going to do later on in the day or that you're running late or that you got to pick your kids up from school. You're listening to what their answers are, okay? And here again is use their words. So as you're doing that first meeting, that first walkthrough, what you want to do is get all of their ideas. Then as you're walking around the property before you go back in the house to do your presentation, is you want to reverse roles. Instead of being the order taker and getting all of their ideas, you want to start offering up suggestions. You want to start talking to them, if they want a patio outside the house, but there's a 3-foot grade change, from the finished floor elevation down to their backyard, you want to ask them, okay, I know you want a patio in the back. Do you want it raised at the finished floor elevation of the house, or do you want it at the ground? Would you like a set of steps? Would you like a raised patio? Would you like something in between? So what you want to do is get them thinking about the fact that there are a lot of different ways to solve this problem, which they didn't think about. And this is where you're getting them now primed up for why they need a design. So you do that with several things, never challenging them, never making them feel bad about their ideas, but letting them know there are a lot of different ways to come up with the design solution and put some things out there. Now you're walking back in the house, so you're inside the house. You want to ask them what their first priority is. You tell them, these are a lot of great ideas we talked about, but it's a lot of work. But what is your first priority? What project do you want to work on first? And then does everybody agree to that? Do both the husband and wife agree? Because chances are they may want to work on separate areas, but they both have to agree to it. Is it logical? Are you going to plant something? They want to do something that's in the way of something you're going to do next year as part of phase 2. And then whenever possible, choose complete projects. It's nice if they're doing the rear patio to do the patio with some plantings. It kind of gives them a finished project. For those of you that want to do all the hardscape together, you can do that. But typically I also like to mix them up, plantings and hardscaping, because there's more profit in plantings and less typically in hardscaping. So you want to know what the phases are. All right, now here's the big one, discussing the budget. Okay, we all know that when you ask them how much they want to spend, customers clam up. They don't want to tell you, and the reasons they don't want to tell you is because they think that we're going to run the project up as much as we can, or that they're giving us information that we're going to take advantage of them, quite frankly. So they hem and haw and don't give us a number. What you need to do is explain to them things like, well, you see, I can do the layout for you, and the prices will vary based on the materials that we're choosing. So if I don't know what number amount you want to work with, then it's very difficult to pick the appropriate size plants, to pick the type of materials that will fit within your budget, and I know when I come back that you're not going to be happy with the proposal that I have. And the reality is that when you come back, it's always going to be more than we wanted to spend. Okay, so you need to get a budget from the client and the project that they're working on. You're not going to price up the entire job. You're not going to price up the entire design. You want a specific area that you're working on, and then a specific budget for that area. And once you have those things, you're doing great. And now this is where you explain to them how the design fees work. You run through everything just the way that I did with you, showing them how much the design is. Don't show them that document that shows that you know how much they spent on the house. I made that mistake once, and I got booted right out of the house. The people didn't like that. I was doing a little bit of research. All right, so just tell them, your property is 0.86 acres, which means it's this price. They like it. They understand that they need a plan because you showed them all the reasons outside why they need a plan. And then also what you should do and carry around is the deliverables. Show them a sample plan from another project. That's all I carry when I go to these meetings is a drawing. I don't have a portfolio. I don't have an iPad. I don't have lots of pictures because I do want to get in and out as quickly as possible. And my main goal is to sell the design. So once I show them a plan, they see what the design fees are, they're pretty much ready to go. All right, so all you need is a drawing from another job with the intent of all you want to do is sell the design and get a design fee. All right, so did pretty good actually on time. So I have a couple more slides and then I'll give it over to Mike. So I want to thank Landscape Management and Dynascape for supporting these meetings, bringing these webinars, allowing me to bring this information out to you, allowing you to learn more about the design build process. And again, we have 2 more webinars to go through. The next one is creating an unbiddable plan and proposal. It's probably one of my most popular topics because the idea of an unbiddable plan, once I do the presentation, you'll understand it a little bit better. If you're a member of the website, you have a pretty good idea of what that's about. Just a reminder, this is about my radio show, Landscape Live, which again I'm in partnership with Landscape Management. It's every Wednesday, 7 to 8. We have great guests on. It's free, so I encourage you to go on the website and learn about it. And also to let anybody know who's not a member, if you wanted to join this week, that I'm offering $50 off if you use the promo code double sales, but it's this week only. Next week I'm going to do it again, but you're not going to be able to save as much. So obviously I'm encouraging you to join my website, and if you put double sales in the promo code, it'll give you $50 off the annual fee. So I'm going to pass it over to Mike. So I can do a better job than I did before. Share my screen, change presenter. No, that's not it. There we go. Mike?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. So it's a little easier getting off than on. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Jody. That was a wonderful presentation. We are, right at 3 o'clock, as you mentioned, so I'm not going to get to too many questions. The one thing I wanted to mention, or actually one thing we had sent to us here is if you can mention again where people can download the proposal information that you mentioned on the outset of the presentation.
Yeah, if you go onto my website from designtobuild.com and just sign up for the free trade secrets to send out, it'll direct you to a landing page where you could download all of that. If you are a member already, all those things are already on the website. And if anybody has any problems, just email me at jshilan@fd2b.com. But if you just give me your email address, like I said, it'll be a landing page, and you'll be able to download all 4 of the documents.
Okay, great. So one of the several questions we get here, and we kind of always get with a lot of your presentations, is just going into a little bit more detail in terms of how you break out your design fees. In terms of, do you do it on the conceptual drawing and then the finished plan, or how do you bill out the design fees for your work?
And that's a great question, and we'll see the drawings next week. Is that my process is? It's one drawing. It's a buildable concept plan. All right, there is no second plan. It's a color render drawing that has minimal amount of information. Everything's drawn to scale, but the hardscape area, patio area, is labeled as patio. The plants will be labeled, where spruce, or they'll be labeled, rhododendrons or birch tree. And I keep the detailed information on the proposal. I want the drawing just to be an exciting, colorful document that wows the customer and doesn't bog them down trying to read all of the Latin names of all of the plants and confusing them, which it does. So the reason that this works so well and the reason that you could have a quick turnaround time is because you're doing one drawing. And again, I've been doing it a long time, so I can usually get pretty close to what the clients want, and we'll discuss that next time as well. But there is no construction details. If that's your business model, it's a different business model than what mine is. So it's one drawing and one contract.
Great. And then I think the last question we're going to have time for today is budget information with customers, and how do you deal with customers who haven't considered a budget and don't really have any specific number in mind?
That's, again, another good question. Everybody has a budget. You know, if you apply this to your own purchasing, when you go to buy something, you have an idea of how much you want to spend. You know what your finances are, you know how much money you make, you know how much things cost. And clients, you know, what they'll say is, we don't know how much we want to spend. You know, the classic ones are, come back and we'll tell you if it's too much. And my standard joke is, well, if they don't know how much they want to spend, how will they know next time that I come back that it's too much, or it's more they want to spend? So there's a couple of quick techniques that, when they say they don't know what things cost, they've never done this before, or 5, 6 other excuses that they use, what you can do, and my favorite strategy is go, you know what, I understand, but I've done projects similar to this, and they've been as low as, you know, let's say in your head that the project was about $25,000 installation, roughly. So I would tell them, I've done projects similar to this for $5,000 and also $78,000. Just numbers that are kind of off the charts, because it shakes them up a little bit. And they'll go, well, you know, $78,000, that's crazy. And I'll explain how you could spend $78,000, and you can do everything: wet laid, lighting, irrigation, mature plants. And then they'll say, well, $5,000, what do you get for that? You get a gravel walkway, you get seedlings, you know, anything that shows that there is a broad range, because they don't understand that. And then after you say those things, then you have to be quiet and let them come up with a number, and they will. They'll say, you know what, 78, you know, is way beyond our budget. We're looking more at 2025 or 1520. But you have to do that. You have to say, I've done other projects like this. Not, you're looking at, you know, 15,000, 20,000. You have to make it sound that you've done these types of projects before at those dollar amounts. And then you have to be quiet. And it's uncomfortable for some people, but it works really well. And everybody has a budget. If they don't, they're lying.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you very much, Jody. As we mentioned earlier on the offset, we will be having the second webinar in this series next Thursday, and that one will be again hosted through Landscape Management Magazine and Jody and Dynoscape. So we'll hope to see everyone at that point. And was there any other points, Marissa, that you wanted to address?
No, just to thank everybody for listening, and, you know, anything I can do to help. If you want to shoot me an email or you have questions, or actually send the questions to Dynoscape, and then they'll send them to me collectively, and we can answer all of them together. I appreciate everyone taking the time out of their schedule to listen.
And I just want to say thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Marissa. Thanks,
Great.
Mike.
All right. Thank you, guys.
The organizer